We are learning some more disturbing and I will just say incredibly gruesome details about the murder case against the singer David tonight. And this is thanks to a brief that was filed by Los Angeles Deputy District Attorney Beth Silverman in connection with a status hearing earlier today. And I will warn you right now, some of what you're about to hear is very graphic.
Three special circumstances, 10 pieces of evidence, one death penalty case. On April 29, 2026, Los Angeles prosecutors unsealed a 9-page brief over the objection of David Anthony Burke's defense team. Burke is the 21-year-old platinum-selling singer known professionally as D4vd. He has pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder, continuous sexual abuse of a child under 14, and the unlawful mutilation of human remains. The victim was Celeste Rivas Hernandez. She was 14 years old. Her remains were recovered from the front trunk of his Tesla. Every channel covering this case is reporting the evidence one piece at a time. The autopsy, the chainsaws, the Amazon receipts, the text messages. What no one is showing is how each piece is doing legal work, how each one feeds into one of 3 special circumstance allegations that make David Burke eligible for the death penalty. Murder of a witness, murder for financial gain, lying in wait. This is not 10 shocking details. This is a prosecutor's blueprint, decoded. Welcome to Guiltveil. Before this is a story about evidence, it is a story about Celeste.
We have 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez's autopsy report. We also now know her official cause of death.
Celeste Rivas Hernandez was born on September 7, 2010. Her parents had emigrated from El Salvador. She was the youngest of 3. She attended Lakeland Village School in Lake Elsinore, California. The corner store owner near her home, Ellie Nadaf, told CNN her favorite afternoon snack was tacos and a soda. The missing person poster her family circulated in 2024 noted she was last seen wearing Hello Kitty slippers. Stay with me, because what you are about to see is not a celebrity scandal. It is the documented architecture of how a 14-year-old daughter of immigrants was allegedly groomed, allegedly killed, and allegedly dismembered while 3 different agencies had her on file as a missing minor. Celeste Rivas Hernandez deserves every person watching to know exactly how this was allowed to happen, and exactly what prosecutors are now doing about it. Piece 1 of the 10 begins on February 15, 2024. That morning, Celeste's parents called the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. They told the dispatcher their 13-year-old daughter had not come home. It was the first of 3 missing person reports they would file in 14 months. The second came on March 19, 2024. The third on April 5, 2024. By the time the third report was filed, deputies in 2 different counties already had David Burke's name in their files. Piece 2 is the welfare check. On February 17, 2024, 2 days after Celeste's parents filed the first missing person report, Riverside County detectives traced phone records found in her belongings. One number kept appearing. According to court filings, that number belonged to David Anthony Burke. He was 18 years old. Celeste was 13. Detectives contacted Burke directly that day. According to the prosecution brief, Burke claimed he had last spoken with Celeste on February 13 or 14. He told detectives he was unaware she was a minor. He told them he had not known she had been reported missing. Riverside County authorities then requested a welfare check at Burke's home in West Hollywood. Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies arrived that same day. According to court filings, the deputies told Burke directly that Celeste was 13 years old. They told him she was a runaway. They told him she had been reported missing by her parents. Burke allegedly told the deputies he had only met Celeste once, in November 2023. He allegedly showed the deputies a yearbook photo of her on his cell phone. The deputies left. 2 days later, on February 19th, Celeste returned home to her family. By the end of that week, 2 separate sheriff's departments had Burke's name in their records and had told him directly that Celeste was 13. According to the prosecution brief, Burke continued to communicate with her. He knew she was 13. Piece 3 is the cell phone. When Celeste returned home in February 2024, her parents took her phone away. According to the prosecution brief unsealed on April 29, 2026, this is the moment David Burke allegedly began running an operation to circumvent her parents. Prosecutors allege that Burke paid $1,000 to a junior high school student in Celeste's class. The student was a child himself. The brief states that Burke had purchased a cell phone and that he allegedly paid the classmate $1,000 to deliver that phone to Celeste at school so that the two of them could continue communicating after her parents had taken her primary phone. The classmate is not named in the public record because the classmate is a minor. But the alleged transaction is documented in the digital records prosecutors say they obtained during the months-long investigation that ended with Burke's arrest on April 16, 2026. A junior high schoolyard, a cell phone, $1,000. He knew she was 13. That is piece 3. Piece 4 is the Uber. On the night of April 23, 2025, Celeste Rivas Hernandez was at home in Lake Elsinore. She was 14 years old. She had turned 14 the previous September. According to the prosecution brief, David Burke ordered an Uber that evening. The Uber drove more than 70 miles to her family's home. It picked up Celeste. It delivered her to Burke's rental property in the Hollywood Hills, a multi-million-dollar home not far from the Chateau Marmont. The brief alleges the Uber dropped her off at 10:10 p.m. The drop-off time is documented. The pickup address is documented. The destination address is documented. The fare receipt is part of the prosecution's evidence file. The prosecution alleges that this Uber dispatch is the foundation of the lying-in-wait special circumstance. Under California Penal Code Section 190.2, lying in wait requires 3 elements: a substantial period of watching and waiting for an opportunity to act, a concealment of purpose, and a surprise attack on the victim from a position of advantage. Prosecutors argue that ordering a rideshare to bring a 14-year-old to a private home in the Hollywood Hills on a specific night, after a specific text exchange, satisfies all 3 legal definitions. That is piece 4. Piece 5 is the argument. In the hours before Celeste boarded that Uber, prosecutors say she and Burke were exchanging text messages. The April 29th brief describes them as a lengthy argument.
Before I get into the description of these charges and their seriousness, I want to look at this as a parent. I am a parent of 3 children, and a parent's nightmare is a situation where your daughter goes out one night and never comes back.
According to the brief, Celeste was upset about Burke's relationships with other women. According to the brief, Burke had allegedly led her to believe they had a future together. The argument escalated. According to the brief, Celeste then sent a message that prosecutors quote in the filing. The brief states that Celeste threatened to disclose damaging information about her relationship with the defendant to end his career and destroy his life. That is the prosecution's case for the murder of a witness special circumstance under California law. To establish that special circumstance, prosecutors must demonstrate the murder was committed for the purpose of preventing the victim's testimony.
Celeste Rivas Hernandez's
a 14-year-old
autopsy
girl
report.
in a text
We
message
also now know
allegedly
her official
threatening to
cause of
expose
death.
what Burke
It's
had
officially
allegedly been doing to her since she was 13. That, prosecutors argue, is the testimony he was trying to prevent. He knew she was 13. Hours later, the Uber arrived in the Hollywood Hills. The clock read 10:10 p.m. That is piece 5. Pause. Here is what the documented record has established so far. David Burke and Celeste Rivas Hernandez were allegedly in a relationship. Prosecutors allege that relationship became sexual when she was 13 years old. He was 18. 2 different sheriff's departments knew about it before she died. Deputies told him to his face that she was 13. Her parents reported her missing 3 times. He allegedly paid a junior high student $1,000 to deliver a phone to her after her parents took hers away. On the night of April 23, 2025, he allegedly sent an Uber to her family's home and brought her to his Hollywood Hills rental. Earlier that day, she had allegedly threatened in a text message to expose him. For the first 90 days of this case, that was the investigation. a missing girl, a platinum-selling singer, an impounded Tesla with a body inside it, and a department that did not yet have the digital evidence to charge. Then, on April 29, 2026, Deputy District Attorney Beth Silverman convened the first of 3 grand juries. According to Rolling Stone, the grand juries authorized wiretap evidence. According to the April 29 brief, investigators recovered more than 40 terabytes of digital data from Burke's devices. And inside that 40 terabytes, prosecutors allege they found the financial gain motive. 2 days. That is the gap that breaks this case open. Celeste was allegedly killed on April 23, 2025. Burke's debut studio album, Withered, was released on April 25, 2025. It opened at number 13 on the Billboard 200. The album had been promoted for weeks. The marketing campaign was scheduled. The release date was fixed. The single Romantic Homicide had carried Burke from SoundCloud to a major label deal in 18 months. Withered was the moment that deal converted to revenue. According to the prosecution brief, on the morning of April 24th, the morning after the alleged murder, Burke allegedly drove home from a route through Santa Barbara County and went directly to a radio interview to promote the album. According to court filings, he conducted that interview as if nothing had happened the night before. This was not a relationship that ended in violence. According to prosecutors, this was an alleged calculation. A 14-year-old who had threatened to expose him stood between a platinum debut and silence. The first of those things happened. The second one allegedly stopped happening at 10:30 p.m. on April 23, 2025. He knew she was 13 when it began. Piece 6 is the texts after. This is the single piece of evidence in the prosecution brief that prosecutors described directly as a premeditated plan to cover up the murder. According to the April 29th brief, the Uber dropped Celeste off at the Hollywood Hills rental at 10:10 p.m. on April 23, 2025. According to the brief, prosecutors believe Celeste was already dead by 10:30 p.m. At 10:30 p.m., David Burke allegedly sent her a text message. The message asked where she was. He had allegedly watched the Uber arrive. He had allegedly opened the door for her. The autopsy report would later describe the cause of death as 2 penetrating wounds of the torso with smooth edges. One of those alleged wounds, according to the medical examiner, was approximately 1.5 inches deep on the right abdomen and perforated her liver. The second alleged wound on the left lower chest was at least 2 inches deep and disrupted the cortical surfaces of the adjacent ribs. The medical examiner ruled the manner of death a homicide. And then, 20 minutes after the Uber arrived, according to prosecutors, Burke allegedly sent Celeste a text message asking where she was. The April 29th brief states this directly. The people contend this was part of defendant's premeditated plan to cover up the murder, as she was already dead by this time. Prosecutors argue the text was not a question. It was an alibi being constructed in real time. According to the brief, Burke allegedly sent 2 more text messages to Celeste's phone the following day. He allegedly never attempted to contact her phone again after April 26th. Premeditation in California law requires more than a fleeting moment of intent. It requires a considered decision. Prosecutors argue that the text messages sent after Celeste was already dead are the cleanest piece of evidence of premeditation in the entire case file. To execute an alibi within 20 minutes of the alleged killing requires a plan that existed before the killing did. That, prosecutors argue, is the architecture of lying in wait. Piece 6 is what California law calls consciousness of guilt. It is also, according to the prosecution, the spine of the lying in wait special circumstance, the concealment of purpose, the substantial period of watching, the premeditated act, all documented in a stream of text messages allegedly sent to a phone whose owner could no longer answer. 20 minutes. 2 text messages. 1 blueprint. That is Piece 6. Piece 7 is Lake Cachuma. According to the prosecution brief, at approximately 11:30 p.m. on April 23, 2025, roughly an hour after the alleged murder, David Burke allegedly left his Hollywood Hills rental and drove north on the 101 freeway.
where your
Cell
daughter
tower
goes
data,
out one
surveillance
night
video,
and never
and Tesla
comes back.
telemetry placed his
That's how the
vehicle on a route that ended in an isolated area near Lake Cachuma in Santa Barbara County, California. The brief alleges he returned home the morning of April 24th. For 10 months, that drive was an unexplained data point in the investigation. Burke had not yet been charged. The Tesla had not yet been searched. The grand juries had not yet been convened. Investigators had cell tower data, but no recovered evidence to tie the destination to the case. Then, on January 17, 2026, a California Department of Transportation worker was performing routine maintenance along California State Route 154. Route 154 runs through the Santa Ynez Mountains, climbing through the San Marcos Pass before descending toward the Santa Barbara coast. It is a remote stretch of state highway. The route runs near the same isolated area Burke had allegedly visited the previous April. According to the prosecution brief, the Caltrans worker found a small object on the shoulder of the highway. It was a United States passport card. The card was issued to Celeste Rivas Hernandez. That passport card became P7. The brief alleges that on the night of April 23, 2025, Burke allegedly drove to Route 154 with items belonging to Celeste and allegedly disposed of those items along the highway. The passport card was the only item recovered. It was 8 months old when Caltrans found it. It had survived a winter on the shoulder of a state route in the Santa Ynez Mountains. The fact that it was discovered at all, prosecutors argue, was the rarest of breaks. Prosecutors allege Burke made multiple disposal trips to Santa Barbara County in the weeks following Celeste's alleged death. The Lake Cachuma Drive was the first. Investigators allege the others followed a similar pattern: long drives, late nights, isolated stretches of state highway, items disposed of along the route. Each trip was allegedly tracked through cell tower data and Tesla telemetry. The Caltrans discovery transformed an unexplained drive into a documented disposal route. He had allegedly disposed of her identification on a state highway by sunrise. That is Piece 7. Piece 8 is the receipts. Between April 24, 2025 and May 5, 2025, an Amazon account placed a series of orders. According to the prosecution brief, the orders were placed under a false name. The shipping address was the Hollywood Hills rental. According to the brief, the orders included the following items: a shovel, 2 chainsaws, a body bag, an inflatable pool of the type marketed for children, blue plastic, low-walled, a burn cage, a metal incinerator commonly sold for backyard waste disposal. According to the brief, all of these items were delivered to the Hollywood Hills property within 12 days of the alleged murder. According to the brief, the orders were not placed in advance of April 23rd. The first order allegedly went in on April 24th, the morning after the alleged killing, hours after Burke had allegedly returned from the Lake Cachuma Drive. The brief notes the order timestamps. It notes the IP address. It notes the payment method. It notes the false name attached to the account. Each detail, prosecutors argue, was preserved by Amazon's own systems and recovered through warrant. This is what California prosecutors are calling the architecture of mutilation. The first-degree murder charge requires only intent. The unlawful mutilation of human remains charge, the third charge in the indictment, requires evidence of the act and the means. The Amazon receipts are the means. According to the brief, Burke allegedly purchased the chainsaws and the inflatable pool and the body bag through the same account, on the same platform, under the same false name, in a sequence prosecutors argue cannot be explained by any other purpose. Each item, the brief alleges, has a documented use in the prosecution's reconstruction of the days that followed. A private investigator named Steve Fisher, retained by the owner of the Hollywood Hills rental property, told reporters in December 2025 that he had personally observed a burn cage on the premises. Fisher's account is part of the public record but is separate from the prosecution's investigation. Fisher said the items had been delivered to the residence under a false name. He said that, at the time, the burn cage had been deemed not of importance to any possible criminal investigation by law enforcement. It became, however, of importance to prosecutors. By April 29, 2026, it was piece 8. The shovel, the 2 chainsaws, the body bag, the inflatable pool, the burn cage. He knew she was 13 when he allegedly ordered the chainsaws. Piece 9 is the plastic. According to the prosecution brief, when the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner conducted Celeste's autopsy, the examiner recovered fragments of blue plastic from inside her body. The fragments, according to the brief, were chemically and physically consistent with the inflatable pool that had been delivered to the Hollywood Hills rental on Burke's Amazon account. The brief alleges the dismemberment occurred in Burke's garage. Prosecutors allege they recovered Celeste's DNA from the garage floor. Piece 10 is what was on the iCloud. On April 23, 2026, in open court, Deputy District Attorney Beth Silverman addressed Judge Charlene F. Olmedo. According to court reporting from CBS Los Angeles and Rolling Stone, Silverman told the court that the contents of David Burke's iCloud account, which investigators had obtained through warrant, contained what she described as a significant amount of child pornography. The disclosure was made on the record, is part of the public file. 10 pieces, 3 missing person reports, a welfare check where deputies told him directly, a junior high cell phone,
charges
an
and
Uber,
their seriousness.
a text message argument,
I want to look at this
a premeditated
as a
cover-up,
parent.
a
I
passport
am a
card on
parent
a
of
Santa
3
Barbara
children,
highway,
and a parent's
an Amazon
nightmare
order under a false
is
name,
a situation
blue plastic
where your
recovered
daughter
from a
goes out
14-year-old's
one
body,
night
a
and never
device
comes
full of
back.
the worst material a
That's how
phone can hold. Each piece is doing legal work. Murder of a witness, the texts where she allegedly threatened to expose him. Murder for financial gain, an album that opened at number 13 on the Billboard 202 days after she allegedly died. Lying in wait, an Uber ordered, a door open, a 14-year-old who walked in and never walked out, and a text message at 10:30 p.m. asking where she was. David Burke has pleaded not guilty. His preliminary hearing is scheduled for May 26, 2026. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office has not yet decided whether to formally pursue the death penalty. That decision will be made in the coming months. He knew she was 13 on February 17, 2024, when the deputies stood in his doorway. He knew she was 13 when he allegedly paid a child $1,000 for a phone. He knew she was 13 when it began. And on the night of April 23, 2025, prosecutors will argue he ordered an Uber anyway. Subscribe to Guiltveil and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. If this case moved you, share it. Someone out there needs to hear it. Every case, every truth, every verdict,